In the headlines, Prime Minister Hailemariam Desalegn says his visit to Qatar was fruitful. Industrial parks are benefiting different parts of society in Ethiopia. And UN Secretary General urged for extra effort to address climate change on time. Hello and many thanks for joining us. I'm Tabitha John. This is the news from ABC. Ethiopian Prime Minister says Ethiopia and Qatar signed mutual benefiting agreements during his visit to Doha, Qatar. Premier added two countries are set to materialize agreements on energy, agriculture and health. Kiflayesus Abebe has more.
Ethiopian Prime Minister says Ethiopia and Qatar signed mutual benefiting agreements during his visit to Doha, Qatar.
Both countries have their own comparative advantage. Ethiopia is a country with millions of people, close to 100 million people. We have abundant labor force. More to this, we have land, water, and other diversified natural resources. The people are also hard-working. On the other side, Qatar is rich in financial resources. They employ advanced technology. Thus, we are agreed to cooperate for mutual benefit.
The Premier said both countries poised to implement agreements on energy.
Currently, we are at capacity of satisfying our own energy demands and go beyond to neighboring countries. We made deals, conducted thorough discussions, and formed a technical committee with Qatar. Therefore, we will carry out practical activities soon.
Agriculture, health, and mining are among sectors that two countries are set to bolster their ties.
The second is our agriculture. It is currently embracing modern agricultural practice. So we made agreement to work together in two ways. First is to support our farmers and investors engaged in the sector with modern agricultural technique and equipment. The other is to engage them in potash extraction.
Things are moving very
ተላላፊ ያልሆኑ በሽታዎች በአገራችን እየተስፋፉ መጥተዋል።
We have challenges of non-communicable diseases like kidney problem, heart and diabetes. Cancer is also affecting children and mothers in Ethiopia. Therefore, they will fulfill their promises of building a specialized hospital in Addis Ababa and support us.
The Ethiopian Prime Minister has been on 3 days official visit in Doha, Qatar.
Eritrean refugees denounced the government of Eritrea for the atrocities it is committing against civilians. The refugees have rallied in protest of the Eritrean regime. Wandosan Alemayo presents the story.
Eritrean refugees who are living in different camps in the state of Tigray have made demonstration against the atrocities the Eritrean government is committing against the innocent civilians. Over 20,000 refugees have participated in the protest. Leaders presiding over the demonstration explained the dire situation in Eritrea and the suffering of the innocent people.
This demonstration is aimed at protesting the ruthless situation conducted by Eritrean government against its own civilians. We Eritreans would earnestly fight for our right. We should all rise in a united spirit against the atrocious regime. We strive to bring equality in our country.
The refugees have also explained the Eritrean people are exposed for migration days because of the ruthless human rights treatment in the country.
There
is no equal educational opportunity in Eritrea. We are stripped of all our basic human rights in our country.
This current government of Eritrea entirely violates the indisputable human right. Apart from that, the citizens have no right to exercise religion. There is no freedom of movement and freedom of speech, and assembly as well. The citizens are deprived of all the human rights that should be available to them.
The refugees have acclaimed the Ethiopian government for the constant support being done to them.
Industrial parks in Ethiopia are becoming sources of employment opportunity for the youth. Not only the youth, but the residents living in the surrounding areas are also benefiting from the park's development. Abraham Mastad has talked to the workers in one of the industrial parks.
The workers in this shed are youngsters below the age of 30. They told me lunch and transportation is offered by their employers to help them be punctual. Although majority of the workers are expected to have only elementary education, there are also workers from universities and technical and vocational schools in a higher position as well. Damas tells me that he got constant training by Vietnamese and South Korean trainers.
I started working in here after getting training. Seeing my performance, they awarded me the position of sub-leader, and now I'm a team leader.
Medina here wants to get her own business after the experience she gets from her present job at Bolelami Industrial Park.
Before I start working in here, my families used to support me even for my basic needs. But now I manage my affairs by myself. After getting some skill and experience, I plan to work independently.
I'm here in the middle of Bolelami Industrial Park in one of the sheds, and in this shed alone there are around 1,000 employees. These workers are from different parts of Ethiopia and their engagement differs. What happens in here is they start working in here, they get trainings, and through the trainings they give them a position of being a leader so that they can expand their knowledge and they can share their knowledge to their fellow workers. Currently, there are about 30,000 employees in different industrial parks throughout the country. The figure is expected to rise significantly with the industrial parks development in the pipeline. I had the chance to talk to the CEO of Industrial Parks Development, and he tells me that the development of the industrial parks in different parts of the country has multiple roles in changing the lives of those who involved directly in the parks and the residents in those areas as well.
And each industrial park work in thousands of direct jobs during construction and other multiplier effect within the surrounding cities and urban centers as a supplier for the park, the construction materials and related.
This shed we are in is called Sheds, and it's a South Korean manufacturing company, and it has 5 sheds in Bolelami Industrial Park alone. It manufactures and exports its products to European and US markets.
The United Nations Security Council anonymously adopted Resolution 2386 on Thursday, renewing the mandate of the United Nations Interim Security Force for Abyei for another 6 months. Ethiopia, the main troop contributing country to UNISFA, welcomed the unanimous adoption of resolution, as well as called on Sudan and South Sudan to live up to their commitments. Ambassador Takeda Alemu, permanent representative of Ethiopia to the United Nations, thanked the U.S. as a pen holder in facilitating the negotiations on the draft resolution and all the members of the Security Council for their support. The African Union Peace and Security Council and the Political and Security Committee of the European Union hold their third joint retreat in Addis Ababa on the eve of their 10th annual joint consultative meeting. The third joint retreat that kicked off on Thursday tries to address post-conflict and peace consolidation in Africa. It also looks into sustainable financing of the AU-led peace operations and cooperation between the AU and EU with regard to the implementation of peace and security architecture of the African Union. The chairperson of the African Union Commission, Musa Faki Mahamat, has called on all stakeholders to address the current situation in Zimbabwe in accordance with the country's constitution. The chairperson also indicated in his statement that the situation must be resolved with reference to the African Union Charter on Democracy, Elections and Governance. The chairperson further stressed that it is crucial that the crisis is resolved in a manner that promotes democracy and human rights as well as the socio-economic development of Zimbabwe. He also expressed the commitment of the AU to working closely with the Southern African Development Community SADC and the leaders of the region. Delegates at Bonn climate talks are working to resolve the remaining difference in reinforcing the Paris Climate Pact. Despite the progress made by the UN General Secretary, urged for extra efforts to halt the increasing global temperature. Here is the story. UN climate talks continued with delegates from almost 200 countries attempting to find consensus on ways of bolstering the Paris Climate Pact. The pact mainly aims to end the fossil fuel era this century. The delegates are optimistic about the negotiation.
So far from the progress that I've heard as the progress that has taken place, I think it's possible for more than half of the agreement to actually be settled and packed, so that only a few things are going to be carried over to COP24.
Well, I think it is going well. I think that there is great success because people are coming into good understanding. There is an area of agreement. We are not disagreeing. There is an area of agreement in this international arena. So I think that it is good.
The two-week meeting is due to end on Friday, and there are still issues that need to be settled on pre-2020 commitments and details of the rulebook for the implementation of the agreement struck in Paris 2 years ago. Speaking at climate conference in Bonn, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said countries are not keeping the pace needed to meet the extra urgency in implementing the Paris Agreement.
The reports recently published show that the level of CO2 in the atmosphere is at the highest level since 800,000 years ago. And unfortunately, in 2017, we will see for the first time in the last 3 years the emissions of greenhouse gases rising again.
The talks entered the high-level segment on Wednesday with German Chancellor Angela Merkel and France's President Emmanuel Macron both promising to limit the use of coal. The UN Secretary General urged developed countries to walk the talk.
It is very clear that we are not on track to make the engagements made in Paris be implemented. And the engagements made in Paris are not enough for the objective that in Paris was established to make sure that climate change will not lead to an increase in temperature over 1.5 degrees.
On Thursday, delegates continued to give their national statements on how their countries would contribute to the fight against climate change and its effects. A Kenyan entrepreneur designs unique sandals that cater to a variety of fashion tastes in a minute. Women are enjoying the multi-style sandals. Edom Bazabe has more from CGTN.
A handmade sandal comes with a variety of accessories for women to wear it with different styles while using the same shoe.
Basically, you get a blank base and that's your canvas. You can change it up so you get like the leather pieces. Everything is just slips on and off, and you just literally click on and off and you build a shoe. So it's as simple as that. Literally, in under a minute, faster than you do your makeup, you can have built your shoe. Voila. And then for glitzy glam, got a leather shoe, and then you can also create a fabric one.
Originally from Kenya, Adihambo Mwala Lowers has made South Africa her home for 17 years, where she created her company Galago Sandals in 2012, where everything is made locally, and it has created opportunities for women in South Africa. Adihambo aspires to show a different side of Africa in innovation and creative styles.
It's really essential for me to keep the product in Africa, to keep it handmade, just to show love through the product.
The company is now widely recognized for producing quality footwear, so Adihambo hopes to export her products soon.
That's all we had for now. I'm Tabitha John. Thank you for watching. Have a good time.